So let's talk about being done with the 90s. It's been a fun thing going on, a lot of back and forth here. Now, first off, I want to say this. I started watching basketball in the late 90s. I didn't watch any Bulls until the Jazz series in his final championship run. So I do want to say that up front. And then I watched the Knicks and Spurs, and I watched the Lakers dynasty, saw the Spurs win their championships in their dynasty. Then I saw LeBron go from Cleveland to Miami. I saw that my Celtics won in 07, 08. I saw the Warriors dynasty, and I've watched basketball from that point on. So I do want to say that up front. I haven't watched a lot of the 90s basketball. So I don't want to come out here and say, yeah, it's trash. I haven't really watched a lot of it. That's very ignorant to say. And I say that because there's a lot of that going on. People play a minute clip of, oh yeah, Jordan can't dribble left. And I'm like, okay, did you watch the whole game? And have you watched multiple games later in his career? Because here's what's really bad about that. You might want to do some more homework. So let's start off with apparently Michael Jordan not being able to go left. Now, there was a quote by George Gervin. This is what he said. I didn't say it. He did. He said, Mike, back then, I'm a student of the game. Mike couldn't go left. I just get on the right side and make him go that way. He was dominant right until he made that adjustment in the career. He didn't take off. Once he made that adjustment, he could go both ways and get by you lights out. So George Gervin's even admitting that at one time, yes, Michael Jordan did struggle with going left, but that changed over time when he got better. You see, what people got to realize is players have weaknesses. What did LeBron James struggle with? His jump shot. You know what he worked on after they lost in the finals against the Dallas Mavericks? Was his jump shot. You see, every player has a weakness and they get better at it. To just say, oh yeah, he can never go left is very ignorant to say, especially if you don't have a lot of evidence to back that up. I just gave you a quote that debunks that myth. So if we're going to say we're done with the 90s, let's go through some other players and you let me know what you think if you're done with the 90s because I'm very curious. So let's start with Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant big man I've ever seen in my opinion. This man's played in 1993. So if you're going to be done with the 90s, you got to be done with Shaq too, right? He played with the Lakers, got the three-peat, three-time Finals MVP, went to play with Dwayne Wade, got a fourth championship, played with the Suns, and made an all-star team at the age of 37. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because it shows me that even if you're transitioning to a different era, you can still produce at a high level. I know he wasn't giving out the best stats. He was averaging 17 points a game that year. But it's just show you one thing, that players who were in the 90s can actually continue to play at a high level in a different era. Next guy on my list is Kobe Bryant. Are we done with the Black Mamba? Are you really going to sit there and say, yeah, I'm done with Kobe? When he played in the late 90s, he was part of that era, whether you like it or not. He was an all-star from 2000 to 2016. Now, I know the 2013 and 14 season, I believe, he had an Achilles injury and that he got voted in by the fans. Now, if he didn't have that injury, I think he's still making an all-star appearance. That's just what I think. And the man was able to play in the 2000 eras and the 2010s eras. And if he didn't have those injuries, you have to wonder, would he still be playing basketball? You see, Kobe Bryant transcended the league in his own way. Now, obviously, in my opinion, he did copy Jordan's game. And there's nothing wrong with that. You got to learn from the greats, right? But he was an assassin. He would hit big clutch shots. He would hit some crazy shots. And the shots he had on Grant Hill, I mean, it was just unfair what this guy did. He was crazy. But to me, to say like you're going to be done with the 90s, where you got to be done with Kobe too, right? And he was a phenomenal player, top 10 all time in my opinion. And just to say like, oh yeah, well Kobe, people would say like he chucked shots, he didn't learn how to play with teammates when Shaq was gone. But he proved that wrong because he got a better roster. I think what I'm realizing is with this whole debate is it's very lazy analysis. That's just my opinion. Now the next guy on my list is Gary Payton. He played in 1990. He was a NBA All Defensive First Team 9 straight seasons, and he was a 9-time All-Star. He played with the Sonics. Then he went to play with the Lakers, and they had Carmelo and Kobe and Shaq. They were trying to get that fourth title. And then you go play with the Miami Heat. He was a role player then, but he still played his part with Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal. He was an intricate part of that roster. So we're just going to forget about Gary Payton, the glove. We're just going to dismiss him, right? And just say no more Gary Payton. Like, he's trash. Okay. The next guy on my list is Vince Carter. He started with the Raptors in 1998. He played with North Carolina from 95 to 98. He comes in the league. He takes it by storm with the slam dunk contest in 2000 where he was at the NBA All-Star Weekend, and we cannot forget what he did. And then he goes and plays in the 2000 Summer Olympics and has that phenomenal dunk, my favorite dunk ever. And we're just going to forget about him? Like he just doesn't exist. Like, goodbye to Vince Carter because, again, you guys are done with the 90s. Now, I know after his career with the Raptors and Nets, he wasn't the same guy anymore, but at the end of the day, he's still a pillar in the NBA. You see, he learned from Michael and Dominique Wilkins. He learned how to become a great dunker because he watched him growing up. So to act like we don't learn from these guys is very ignorant. Last guy on my list is Kevin Garnett. He's won an MVP. He's a 15-time All-Star. He started his career in 1995 with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He won 9-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, 2-time All-Third Team, 3-time Second Team, 4-time All-NBA First Team. I mean, this guy has a resume, to say the least. And he could hit the mid-range. He could rebound, and his defense was phenomenal. It wasn't just phenomenal because he could guard the big guys. He could guard in the perimeter too. So he changed the game in his own way. So let's not act like these guys are just forgotten about. We should just move on and say, because if you're done with the 90s, you got to be done with these guys too. You got to say, like, hey, I'm done with a guy like Kevin Garnett. I'm done with Kobe Bryant. So my question is, what guys are you done with? Is it just Michael Jordan? Is it just a guy like Gary Payton? Like, what does that statement mean? Because to me, it's just when you're looking at a clip and taking just a minute long and not watching the game, not investing in it, and really looking at it from an objective standpoint. Because in today's, era of fans, I noticed that there's a lot of subjectivity. You see it in the media as well, where, they have their favorite guys, they have their agendas, and they can't give proper analysis to the game. I saw something on YouTube where the guy talked about, I forget the channel, but it was really good. He talked about, not everybody is a choke artist. You just have bad moments. That does happen to stars where they fall in their face. Jordan did lose in the playoffs. I know he was perfect in the finals, but he did lose in the playoffs. That did happen to him. He did come up short at times. To me, I think we have to be very careful of how we look at the game. We have to look at it from an objective standpoint, So instead of taking this lens of, okay, if you say anything about my favorite player and compare him to another guy and say they're better, and I'm just going to go in defensive mode, that's not good. You have to be balanced with your takes. Now, the last thing I want to talk about was Game 7 of the 2016 finals between the Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. In case you forgot, that fourth quarter was ugly. In fact, in the last 5 minutes of Game 7, nobody was scoring until Kyrie ever made that jump shot, right? Now, the 18 points is what was scored by Cleveland. They shot 31.6%. And then the Golden State Warriors shot 26.3% and scored 13 points. It was disgusting basketball. And that could remind you of the 90s because they were low-scoring games. So are we just going to say we're done with the 2010s? And here's the reality. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when we get older, we continue to watch basketball, what's going to happen? The generation coming up is going to say, we're done with LeBron James. We're done with 2010s. And because they're going to look at a guy like Luka Doncic. They're going to look at their favorite player and say, they're better than LeBron. They're better than Steph Curry. Why? Because if they, get past 40,000 points, now it's like, well, he scored more than LeBron. He's better. It's going to be the same argument again. It's going to be a cycle, right? Look at Victor Wembanyama. He's already averaging a double-double. Don't think in 2 to 3 years that there's going to be agendas pushed for him. There will be agendas pushed. If Luka Doncic wins a couple of titles, they're going to start saying he's better than LeBron James. I know that's insane to even think about, but this is how it works. When LeBron retires, I think he's the second greatest player ever, there's going to be conversations about who's going to be better than LeBron, who is better than LeBron. That is going to happen. I know that's hard to receive, but that's how it works. They love you then, but then when you're gone, they look for the next face. They're looking for that next guy. So that's just how it's going to happen. And if you don't like it, well, you're in for a reality check, LeBron fans. It's going to take place. And you're going to be like, oh, well, now I know how Jordan fans feel. You're going to see it, right? So I think, when it comes to being done with the 90s, at least give some good analysis of what you're talking about. Going on TikTok, giving a 1-minute clip is just lazy. It's just terrible analysis of what's going on because, again, there's guys that have come out. Even Kennedy Jet Smith has said, at first he did struggle with his left hand, but he got better over time. There's tons of YouTube videos I could pull up right now where he actually goes left and he's very effective going left. But again, every player has a weakness in their game. And some of them never work on it. Some of them get better at it. And that's just how it works, right? Just because Jordan struggled with his left doesn't mean he's a terrible player. We got to relax with that. And we got to give a proper analysis of what's going on. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. What do you think about this trend going on about being done with the 90s? Do you agree or disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Keep it respectful, and I'll catch you in the next one.